Alright, what's up people? I hope all is well. Yes. In this tutorial, get situated. In this tutorial, I'd like to talk about some tips and tricks in building an LFS system. Okay? So, I go to my desktop, and I don't have what I need. One thing I like to do is, I like to keep everything, kind of, first, say if I was to build an LFS here, I like to keep everything kind of separated in its own little thing. Right? So, usually what you see me do is, I'd do something like make a directory LFS stuff, okay, and CD into that, and just get away from everything, my desktop and everything else, okay, and two, I don't have stuff scattered all around. And when I install, say, when I go get my packages, whenever I make a dedicated little directory, I stick all my packages in, blah blah blah. Another thing I like to do is, I like to use Screen. Screen is a terminal multiplexer, so you can actually cut windows apart and stuff like that. Now when I first started building LFS, on 6.2, I was reading off of my laptop a PDF, and I would install to another computer, right? But a lot of eye shifting and stuff like that, and it's really not a good idea. Now, it's not because it's harder or Screen's easier or anything else like that. It's I think the more you look away and have to do, eye shifting and refocusing. I mean, even though it sounds kind of like I'm really focusing on like monotonous details here, but after you do that for about 20 hours, you really don't want to do that ever again. And you also every time you say I shift, if I was to read on one computer and install on another, every time you do that, you have the chance of losing your place, making syntax errors and stuff like that. So, I like to install with Screen, and for example, we can say something like links www.google.com. Why is that weird? Here. Say LFS 7.5, no chunks. See if I can download the book again. I had a book somewhere, but I don't have it anymore. Okay. Say, you can read from the top here. This is your book. And you can read from the top and install on the bottom. Alright. Another thing I like to do is I don't like to really read from online. Okay. I like to actually go and get, I have to go look for index. I have to actually go get, I like to go get the book, and I usually download just a couple options. You can get the HTML, PDF, or the LFS book. What form is that in? I don't know. But I usually just go ahead and just download the book. Okay? And one thing I like to use is links with a Y. And if you use that, get a little bit of colors here. Okay? And they probably look like crap on my screen recorder. But the colors kind of pop out at you, and certain things will be highlighted in certain colors, blah blah blah. Certain things you have to run, you'll notice, will be pushed all the way over to the left. Okay? And some things like warnings and recommendations, you'll notice, will be say in blue, stuff like that. Some of the scripts will actually be in blue, like this script here will actually be in blue. Okay, so you get a little bit of syntactical highlighting, compared to if you were to just say links, the book, and this is just all kind of like one color flat. So I like to try to get things with links with a Y, things pop out at you, blah blah blah. I'm not saying blah 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 again. And just things like that. Tools are always good to have, and if you're always going to be if you're going to be in an environment for very long, and I don't mean to change your environment, but I mean like if you're going to be if you're going to be building an LFS, I like to always customize my terminal too. Okay. Rather it's colors, fonts, anything else like that, anything that would make you comfortable, even including, you'll notice when I built my LFS 7.5, I had a dock over here. I got rid of that. I tried to customize it as best as possible to provide some level of comfort, because you will need a lot of comfort. Not that it's a long build, but you don't want the little things to throw you off. So if you have a favorite font that you like to use or whatever, and it's comfortable for you, go with it. Go with it. Okay? And let me see what else I can say about this. Tips and tricks. Copy and paste. Don't copy paste. Okay? Do not copy paste, please. Thank you. A lot of people, you'll see, they do stuff like this. Say google.com. A lot of people do stuff like, let me see, LFS 7.5. A lot of people go here to the what do you call it? LFS linuxfromscratch.org site. Okay, they'll read the book from here. And I really don't want to say a lot of people, but some people will. Okay, and all they'll do is really they'll just copy this out. Control C. And do something like Control Shift V. Okay, and they run that, and you're really like cheating yourself. This is all about the learning experience, and half the time, just running that stuff and not really knowing what you're doing, and it's a real. Most of the ones I've seen copy paste, they just fail. They just fail, and they really walk away from the whole thing like, you know, what did I just do? And in that case, why not just not even bother? You know. And if you're going to install something with, say, 80 some packages, maybe that, I don't know. But if you're going to do something like that, that's a lot of copy and paste. That's a lot of copy paste to go ahead and just, you know, Control A, or I don't even know how you would do that. But you just have to pull this out here, Control C, you know, and Control V, you know, and it's too much. You're really not learning anything, and it's all about learning something. So don't copy paste, and if you do copy paste, don't go get counted, because you didn't earn it. Alright? Okay. So the only thing I do actually copy paste is up here in the version checker.sh. Host system requirements. Okay. It's the only thing I actually copy paste, and I don't copy paste from here, but I'll go here to inside of screen. I have my documentation up top. Okay, and in screen too, you can toggle between split view and full screen, and I can say Control A, Shift X, and I should have a full screen. So you want to kind of optimize your time, or optimize your window for what you want to copy out. And in screen you can copy with Control A, Escape. You hear me call that out quite often. And you'll hear me call that out from time to time. Okay, and just go ahead and copy like a DOS editor. Move the cursor to where you want to start, hit enter, and you can copy this out. Enter, put it in the buffer, shift or control A, toggle in between the windows, and you can say something like vim.tiny. I'm not going to name it. Okay, and you can paste it with control A, close bracket. Okay, and by making it full screen, you can actually copy a bigger chunk at a time. I would do that again up here, control A, escape, drag it back up here, and go all the way back down, bring it out, enter into the buffer, control A, and control A, close bracket would paste that there. Okay? And you can actually check that script also by just giving it some space at the top, and you can bring this down to just about where the other script is in the window behind it. You can toggle back and forth just like I'm doing here, control A, okay, and just see if there's any change in position or anything else like that. Okay, and let me see, and it would be the same if I was to say maybe something like this. SH. Okay. Be the same if I just did something like this here. Scroll that down a little bit. And usually I really don't do this, but on some scripts I do. But I really haven't done this on LFS. I might have done it occasionally, but not very often. Usually good with my copy paste. And you can toggle here and see if anything's out of place or out of line. You know, you're only looking for a color change. You can see if, you know, kind of scan it over and see if anything jumps out at you. And you can do that. Okay. Now, also too, and also too, let's see, how to build an LFS system. I really don't go over a lot of the details in my videos. I leave that out so that that you guys can read about that as you're installing, because really a lot of good data there, and I'd hate to explain it. The book explains it better, and I hate to explain it over. And it's all about your experience that you want to get out of it. And like I said, a lot of things jump out at you. Creating file systems, packages. On the packages, you'll notice quite often in my videos I talk about wget, the wget.list that you may get from, say, LFS, the LFS site. Where is it, man? Support. I never, ever, ever can operate this site. This is like the weirdest site. I don't know why. I'm not a button guy. Not a front-end guy at all. Website mirrors, maybe? I don't know. But the wget.list, okay, I talk about that quite often, and I talk against that. What I like to do is I just like to go get my packages. The place I go to is OSL, okay, and I go there quite often. I like to have some tools that I like to use, make things comfortable for me. I like to have 2 web browsers. I like to have links with a Y, and screen is another one. You can also install Arisi or some other kind of chat client And if you ever run into problems, you can go to the guys at LFS support and get some on-the-fly help. Okay. Now, as far as building goes, as far as building goes, I like to do a few things. Like say, go, Jack, Echo, Tom, Echo, hula hoop. Okay? I like to do a few things, and I like to use the up arrows a lot. Okay? It runs the last command, or you can actually scroll back through your history and run those commands. Okay? So for instance here, right here we'll say chown v. You can say chown v LFS $LFS tools. Okay? That's not going to be there. Chown v LFS tools, and then also it says to chown v LFS $LFS sources. So I would just use my up arrow, take this out, and then I would just go ahead and type in sources. Okay, and do that, and that helps out a lot, especially when you get into something like see if I can find a good one here. Something like this here. Okay, you have to make a directory. Actually, make directory, preserve verbose, bin boot, etc opt, you know, all that stuff underneath of etc, all that stuff like that. Okay, so with that, you can basically just type it out once, and you can say bin boot etc encapsulate opt sysconfig, whatever, you know. You can type it out once, and after you would execute that command, then you can just go ahead and use your up arrow to bring it up and then just modify it, you know, and keep going like that. And you can see it better here when you get to something like user encapsulate local or whatever, you know. So actually then you would only be typing out this last bit here, but saving yourself all this stuff here that's already inputted there. Okay, and that's all by using your up arrows and stuff like that. And like I said before, the key to everything is you want to kind of type as little as possible, and the reason being is you can make syntactical errors very easily if you're here for, my last install was probably 20 hours. So, you know, every time you type, you have a chance that you could make a mistake. And if you make a mistake, you can throw an install just for a misplaced dot, or, you know, a space that's where it should not be, you know, stuff like that. So another thing I like to advocate is the use of the tab. I call it tab switching. Basically what tab switching will do is, say if you are here and it auto completes for you, but what it auto completes is, if I was to say cd into d, capital D, I would hit tab twice, and it would show me all the directories I can cd into, with starting with D. Okay, darkroom, desktop, documents, or downloads. Okay, now if I was to say something like cd d o, hit tab, it would show me do, or all the directories I could change root into, or cd into that start with DO. And that works very good. Not only as command completion, say, CDDOW tab, okay? Not only command completion, CODOC, or CD to DOC, tab. Not only with command completion, but also with, I like to call it steering, okay? Because you may be in a directory, say we're here, say if I made a directory and I jumped into it, make dir, let's call it, goop, cd into goop, okay. Now, with an LFS, there really is no where you are in your PS1 prompt. This is all OS-specific stuff here. Okay? And a lot of times LFS, the only thing you have is just a bash and maybe a $sign or something. Okay? That's about it. You really don't have much more than that as a prompt. So a lot of times you really don't know where you are. You could run present working directory all the time, or even check, and that wouldn't be a bad idea. But sometimes you may think you're in somewhere where you're really not. Say if I was expecting a directory in here to be called desktop or something, I would say cd into desktop, okay, and it wouldn't happen because it's not there. But I could have avoided that if I said cd into des tab, 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 and you can see that nothing's happening, so I must be in the wrong directory. And I call that steering. And another good thing that does is, say if you were to, a lot of times when I'm installing, I have to be in my, say, LFS sources directory, okay, and inside of the sources directory I would extract a package, tar xvf some package. I would extract it, and sometimes I don't change root, or I don't not change root, change into that extracted package. Okay, and it's common, but I don't do it, and then I go ahead and I run, say, .run configure, you know, blah blah, and as I'm typing this out here, what I'll notice is I won't be able to autocomplete anything. If I hit C, O, tab, tab, nothing's autocompleting. So right away that gives me a direct indicator that I might not be in the right location to do this. Alright, take a pause and look around, and you'll find out that you may not be in the right area. Another thing is too, sometimes you have to perform some symlinks and stuff like that, and you may not be in the correct area to do that. So you definitely want to use the tab, because it will, not only does it autocomplete, but you'll be able to judge if you're in the right area to do that, and prevent you from making a mistake or something else like that. Okay? More tips and tricks. Auto-completion. Tools I like to use. I'm a heavy advocate of the tab switch. I should patent it. Okay. Big, you know, I don't know if I make it a big problem by even just putting so much attention on it, but I think maybe LFS sees the problem, and they put a lot of attention on it. But a big thing is a lot of people don't understand where to build, and a lot of people don't understand the concept of building some of these larger packages. For instance, the very beginning of the build, we'll say in chapter 5, bin-utils. Here it is right here. A lot of people get confused about what exactly is going on. Say we have all of our packages in some directory. You could say make dir pack 1 through 8. Something like that. Okay. Say this is our sources directory. This is packages here. But these packages are tarred. Okay. So, the standard way of doing this is that you would be in the sources directory if this was sources. Let me make it a little easier. Move that group to sources. Okay. Say what? Move group to sources. Okay. Say this is in your sources directory, you would then say cd into sources, and you could build here, right? Well, what happens is, a lot of people get confused on this part here. First, you would tar xvf the package. So if it was package, I don't know, package1.tgz or bz2, okay? You tar xvf it, and then you would extract that, so you'd be left with, you'd actually be left with pack1, and then you'd have, let's say, pack1.t or bz2. Okay? This would be your tarball, and this would be our extracted package here. Now, according to the book, you want to cd into the extracted package, which would be, say, pack1. Okay? And then you want to make a build directory, backup. You'll notice this isn't really used either a lot of the times in, I want to say regular computing, but that's not the case, in the terminal. But it's a great concept, really. And you can be inside of some directory and make a directory on the outside of that directory. Okay? So, like here, bin-utils, say pass1. You have to cd into it, so I would be located inside of my package. And I can, then it says I have to make a directory back up and out. And let's call that just pack1-build. Okay? And then it would say to cd back up and out into that build directory, pack1-build. And this is where you would be in the build directory. But in actuality, where you are is right here. You're at the same level of directory, I'm going to say hierarchy maybe. You're at the same level as the extracted package and also at the tarball. Okay, so you're not in some, when I first started, I had no idea where I was, and I really think I was outside. I was like outside of the sources directory. It was bad meat all the way. Right? But don't let that confuse you. And the reason why they do that in the documentation, it says it recommends building outside of there to keep the sources separate from the rest of the package that's already extracted. Because basically, you'll see here pass1, there's bin-utils pass1, there's bin-utils pass2, and then there's a final install of bin-utils in the next chapter. But you only make certain parts of the operating or certain parts of that package, and the minimal that you need, and then you have to install other programs so that you can use tests and everything else, and then you go back and you install a little bit more of that package, and we're doing it in like an incremental phase. Okay, so that's that, and it says to do that in a separate dedicated build directory. And actually, if you do that inside of the extracted package, because basically when you extract a package, you extract the whole thing. You're not just extracting pieces of it, but you're going to extract the whole thing, but you're going to build pieces of it. Okay, so don't let that mess you up. And also, after you were to say do all that stuff and you're inside the build directory, when you get done, okay, just go back up and out, and then you can then say remove pack 1 and remove pack 1 dash build. Okay, but you do not want to remove the BZ tarball, even if you ever do remove it. You don't want to remove it until at least your LFS system is up and running, and even then you might just want to keep the sources and stack the tarball somewhere. Okay, so that's another thing some people get tripped up on. And for instance here, you're inside of, say, the build directory, but you're going to execute something that's up and out and actually inside of the binutils extracted package. You're going to run that configure script, but when you run that configure script, you're in the build directory. So all the files that are generated come back into the build directory instead of over there inside of the extracted package. Okay? Good deal. Good deal. Now, the LFS documentation has also started doing something like this. Instead of actually, I think it was 6.3, I know it was like that in a lot of the previous versions. I don't think they started doing this until maybe 6.8 or 7, maybe even 6.5. But they actually started to list all the commands out that you would run. Okay? They actually started putting them in the vertical list. Okay? And sometimes this is good, but sometimes I don't do that. And anytime you would say echo, let me see. You can actually string all these together if you wanted to. And for instance here, we'll say GCC. Now, right away I would hit tab, and I would notice something's wrong here. So I must either be in a wrong directory, or I must not have done something right. And then I would stop, pause, and check and see what's going on. But for the sake of this, we'll say GCC 4.8.2, say con, I would hit tab, and if I didn't autocomplete, I would know that something's wrong. Fig, I would know that something is wrong. See, now you can, if you pop a backslash, that indicates a new line. Now where it has to be is anywhere but right next to it. You always want to put a space, new line. You can pop a new line. And here it would say target equals $LFS underscore target. See space, new line, prefix equals tools. Right here I would hit tab again, okay, and that should work out. And you would say hit your tab often, quite often. You'd be surprised what you can actually autocomplete. Okay, and say with new lib. And what I'm doing is I'm just popping a new line. But effectively what's happening is, if I say clear and I up arrow, that again, effectively what is happening is everything is actually on the same line. Okay, just for the sake of the eyeball, a vertical list may be easier than a horizontal list. Okay, and I can actually continue that on. Where was I? New lib, say without headers say with local prefix equals tools, I can actually continue that on if I wanted to do that. Instead of having to go ahead and arrange it in a vertical, I could actually just keep on going left to right all the way through. A lot of times what I do is, instead of going so many over, I would maybe only go 3, and then after 3 I would pop a new line, and then I may do some more here, okay, and then I would come out, pop a new line, and do some more here, you know, so I'm not really shifting all the way to the left or the right looking, but I'm popping new lines, and it all equals out to be about the same thing at the end. So that's cool, especially, see, when you get to something like this, that's a lot. It's a lot. Try to pick up a rhythm or a pattern. You know, you have a whole bunch of disables here, you know, just eyeball them up, and you'll notice that, you know, you can pretty much eliminate all the disables and just concentrate on the names, NLS, shared, multi-lib, decimal float, all that stuff like that. You know that disabled will be a given to the configuration of most of these programs or switches, and just do that. Now, I like to also, instead of reading line by line, if I am in a vertical fashion, instead of reading line by line, you know, prefix equals tools, user sysroot, blah blah blah, I like to just pick points sometimes. Here I would say, okay, so I know that there's a few widths here. Okay, so as long as all the widths line up, I'm good. And I would pick a spot. I would say O over the I, or P under the R. And I would go down here to where I would be typing at, and I would check for if my stuff at the bottom matched up with this stuff at the top. And don't be hesitant to mumble to yourself or even call them out like I do quite often. Mumble to yourself, you know, double O's, because, you know, O over the O. I would pick a point here, with all looks the same. I would say O over the A, and well, no, that's a bad idea. O over the A, and S over E, and header. Yeah, header. You know, I would pick points like that, and that's helped me out quite often too. Okay? And when you're typing out things that require, say, seds, okay? If I was to say sed, what I like to do is, some people say they do sed, and they enter open bracket S at, they would type something in here, and then they would say, okay, well, I have to remember to close the S, or close the at, close the open, close the single quote, and then jump back and put a G in there. Don't even bother with that. First of all, you know, you have, like, say, if it was a SETI, you know, the SETI, you have to encapsulate it with something. So I just hit single, and then you would say something like S, set up your delimiters, and then G, if G was what you had to type in at the end, hit to close that, S, G. And in between here, then I would go ahead and fill out all that I needed to, okay? And then I would go ahead and install or insert my other delimiter, fill out this this too. Okay, that's how I would do that. Whatever the delimiter is, if the delimiters are at symbols, you know, then that's pretty much what I would do. I would say SETI encapsulate S at, okay, and I would say replace this, and I would say another at with this. Okay, then I would jump out, and if it required a G at the end, okay, and that's that. And what you want to do is also, you don't want to just read it for what it is and just look at it like syntax. Okay, you really want to kind of mouse out what's actually going on, and not just look at it as a ball of syntax, because that's where it'll just be monotonous. Say something like here. Make it a set that's not so crazy. Can I get a nice set, please? It's a little crazy, but man, PS miss maybe? No. No. Where's the nice set? There's no nice sets. Maybe that's the whole thing, huh? There's no nice sets to, what do you call it? To go off of. Core Utils has got to have a nice set for me. I know it. I got this feeling, man. I passed it. Unix maybe? There's some ugly sets in LFS, I tell you. Some really ugly mammy jammies. Some of them just go nuts. Patch. K-mod. I should have stuck with, oh hell, let me just go back. M4 maybe. Nope. Core Utils. And now, PS miss. Alright, one more and I promise we'll just keep going. We'll just keep going. Said in the said. Of course, said's not gonna have anything. Alright, I lied. Two more. That's an ugly said, though. Cool change ellipse maybe. Yeah, okay. We'll just go with that. Alright. That's one ugly ass set though. I don't want to do that. zlib. No. Another, if you can see here, the tab switching here works perfectly, because you can say up one directory, up two directories, and if you type in lib tab, you should get the / here. Okay, and if you don't, then you know you were in the wrong location, and that's happened many times to me before. I think all my seds might be in here, huh? And curses maybe. I'm super sorry. Diff utils. Oh my god, where are all the seds when you need them? Set is just, it just stands for stream editor. You can use it. You can use it to replace text in files as well. So basically, when you're saying sed replace something, this is just bad, ridiculous. Maybe API Editors has one for me. Of course not. Alright, we'll just use this monster ugly ass set right here. Worst set possibly that you could use as an example, and I gotta get it. Basically, said I is saying said input, okay? And if you mouth it out, and don't look at it just as syntax, look at it as what it's actually doing. That'll help you out too. So I like to say said I, and I would come in. As you can see here, I just encapsulate second nature, and you notice said starts with the S, and the delimiters are /. So you encapsulate whatever you're going to type here. In this case, it's actually //. I don't say backslash. I say escape. Okay, escape, and then double $signs. And as you can see here, I would have 2 open brackets, and then I would fill that in. And then I would usually mouth out and say pop out, and replace with, as you see here, I just threw another /, and I would encapsulate again with backticks, fill that inside, and then I would say something like pop out, and pop out all the way, or pop out, and then say time, and here I would say tab, and usually I should get a completion in the make tab, which would bring me up to makefile. Okay, so if you look at it from right to left, it looks really confusing. If you were to say said I, and you would have open bracket, say said I, and you'd have to look up top there, and you say open bracket S /, double open present working directory. Then you would have to remember to close the double, insert the forward, insert the backtick, present working directory, close backtick, close the forward from way over there, and close the single quote from way over there. Okay, but using this convention actually helps out a lot, and doesn't make it look like it's so crazy. And that really gets some of the stuff gets really complicated. For example, here, this is like the worst set in the whole thing. But if you were to read this right to left, it's mayhem. It is mayhem. But at the same time, if you were to do it just by using encapsulation and stuff like that, say GCC, you say dump specs, okay, pipe it through sed E, and then you would encapsulate sed, set up your delimiters at. That's another thing with sed. You know you have one, so it's going to end somehow, because these are delimiters. Okay, these are going to be used instead of the / with seds, or you can use pipes as delimiters with sed. You say change this, pipe it with that. All they are is delimiters. The pipes just act as delimiters, that's all. And they could also be maybe a % sign. Okay, they would act as delimiters, so wherever you have one, you're always going to have another one. So you can say sed E sat, and then I like to mouth out, like I said, exactly what it's doing. You want to replace tools with nothing, and then you can say G over here, pop out, give it some room, and then you would go to the new line. And also too, I like to try to keep the things as lined up as I can with what the documentation has it, especially on something like this. I like to try to keep it a little uniform. So I would even go way over here, pull it in, okay, and I would just line up the E, and I would say something like sed, and I would say something like this here, and I would actually, instead of saying star or something, or wildcard, I would just say all start file underscore prefix underscore spec, and it's all about rhythm. So instead of saying colon, I say stop. And I'll tell you why in a second. Prefix stop / Now we'll just say encapsulate now n semi s at, and go back and fill that in all, and then I would pop out, and I would say with pop back in, I would say user lib space pop out new line. Okay, and on the next one I would tail all the way in again, and I would do that. Whoa. And I would do that again. Okay, and like I said, read them back to yourself, and it is all about rhythm. And make up a little ditty, if you will. It is all about rhythm, so you would say something like, instead of saying E single quote / backslash asterisk start underscore prefix underscore spec colon / open squiggly n semiquote, don't even go through all that. Even if you have to make up totally retarded words that, make you sound stupid to millions of people while you're making the tutorial, do it. It's a bop. You'll get a rhythm about it, and you'll be able to accomplish your task. Okay? So you would say something like, this is a set here, and it's SETI, so you would say SETI, and you hear me quite often do it. And I would say encapsulate TP star or TP all start file underscore prefix underscore. I would say something like said TP all start file underscore prefix underscore spec stop with encapsulate n semi sat dot all at user lib. Okay, or something here. I would say SETI TPO CPP stop. Okay, that would come down here, and I would check and see if that's right. And now we go to the next part, and I would say / encapsulate n semi sat $ at space -I system space user include. Okay, I don't even have to acknowledge the at. The at will be there by itself, because I know that I have to, whenever I run an at or a sed like that, they encapsulate something. So I don't even have to acknowledge the at. It's going to naturally be there by itself. Okay? So that's another thing there. And I say stop because I can say echo Jack with a semi, echo John semi, and echo Bob. Okay? And the semi just means to the interpreter, go execute the next command. Okay? And that's exactly what it did here. Echoed Jack, then it echoed John, then it echoed Bob. But if I were to go through, and I would replace the semi with stops, what should effectively happen is, trying to echo Bob. Okay. What it did was it echoed Jack and echoed the rest. Huh? It should just stop. Echo Jack. I got a little screwed up there. But the semi would act as a stop. So that's one reason why I call it a stop. Actually, I'm sorry, that's the semi. The colon acts as, like, say, a stop. So that's why I would say stop. You'll hear me call that out quite often with CH roots, mounting, let's see, setting up the environment. You hear me do stuff like that, like I would say here, PS1 prompt would equal, even right here, you would say PS1 equals encapsulate, okay? I don't say single, nothing. Encapsulate / U stop / W, and usually I don't need to say / I say escape out, $ space, you say pop out, bin, bash. Okay, I would say something like that. And on stuff like here, like say path equals tools bin stop, I would say something like path equals / tools bin stop user bin. Okay, and you just get like a little bop to it, and it creates like a rhythm with how you're going to do things. Now you don't necessarily have to say it all out loud. I have to say it because I make videos, but if you say it to yourself in your head with that type of rhythm, it'll make things go a little bit easier. Even when things get a little hairy, if you mumble them to yourself a little bit and take the time, you'll recognize it audibly, and you'll be able to remember exactly what's going on, and it helps you stay a little bit focused there. What else can I talk about? Oh, commands and using the history. What I like to do is sometimes I call up history. Okay? So you'll notice too a rhythm with, or a pattern, that a lot of programs, when you get past the hairy stuff in say GCC and all that other stuff, when you get past that, and this is in section installing a toolchain, when you get past that, you'll notice a lot of repeats. Configure prefix equals tools, make, and if you look ahead a little bit, you can say make install. Okay, looking ahead is very important. Okay, and if you get a little rhythm like that, and there's quite a few that do that, you can just get one and say configure prefix equals tools, right? If that was the case, and then you can say make, okay, and then you can say make install, which would be the next command there. Actually, not with Deja Gnu. Need some make installs. Diff utils is a good one. Okay, diff utils, configure prefix equals tools, make. You can skip over this check here and make install. Okay, file, configure prefix equals tools, and you can just say make, skip over that check again, make install. Find util, same thing, make install. Gawk, same thing, make install. So instead of saying that all the time, okay, what you can do is pull up in your history. It's kind of a vice versa thing, but if you notice, if you can remember exactly where that is in your history, for instance here it would be 609, what I used to do is say .run configure, okay, and that would run the last command that I ran, including configure in the very beginning, and it was configure prefix equals tools. So you can see here, if I say not run and I say configure, I don't have to type in prefix equals tools. Okay, saves time a little faster. But also, like I said, I actually just started doing this. I started pulling this up in my history. So I would take a second, I'd look at my history, I'd pull up the last time I ran configure, which would be here, say 609. Okay. And now I can just say not 609 whenever I know I need to run prefix equals tools. Now, that's going to change from time to time, especially with LFS, considering where you may be. You may chroot in and you'll lose all your history. Okay. But that's a good technique. And then you can, install something over here, blah blah blah, and that package is done, and then that you run into a configure prefix equals tools, and you just say not 609, and you can run it. And then you could even say, as you can see there, I went up with the up arrow and it pulled it up. It's the same thing as using your up arrow. And you know that 609 was prefix equals tools, and the next command you ran was make, so you could say something like 610. Okay? And you know that you ran, after make, you ran make install, so then you could say make or 611. Okay? So that's make install there. Or you can even get crafty about it. And if you had configure prefix equals tools, you can string those together. If you were to look ahead, you have make here. I'm going to skip over that test and make install. You say, alright, configure prefix equals tools and make install. Okay? And that will string all three of those together. So if I pull up history again, now if I went ahead and I typed in 626 or not 626, I should get configure prefix equals tools and make install. Okay, so I could wipe out a whole package very efficiently that way. Or I could say not configure, and it should string the rest of them along too. There you go. Make install. You could do that. I normally don't really do that too much. I do run the not configure a lot, and but that only consists of, say, prefix equals tools. Okay. And one thing I do run a lot is I string make and make install together. Okay, so now if I ever said make or not make, it would automatically make and make install. Okay, so that's what I do. And on the rest of the tips and tricks, just take your time and find a little pattern, a little bop, read things you need to, eye up everything. Like here, this is all in vertical fashion, so if I say home equals root, going back over and checking this, I would say over the big E or something, and definitely here I would say path equals bin stop user bin stop pause, s bin stop user s bin tools bin. That's it. It's just that little pause that creates that little bit of rhythm. And even sometimes I say that out loud, well, quietly, of course. I don't yell it out, but I say that out loud to create an audible link between what my eyes are seeing, which are usually they're half dried out or something from looking at the screen for so long, with my ears. Okay, and just take chunks. Like here it would say link symbolic and verbose, tools bin, and say encapsulate bash cat echo, and just stop there and go down, check your syntax, make sure you got bash cat echo. You go back up and you say present directory stty. Okay, good to go. Here's another one. And you say root stop x stop O stop, root, and stop bin bash. But see, that's too many stops. So I would just take it as a given that stop is there, So I would just type in root and not even say anything. Root X, O, and stuff like that. And if you create a little bop to yourself, you will be okay. And use your up arrows. That helps out. Where's that? Incurses. Incurses is like the worst package to install for me anyway. Because it's just kind of monotonous. It kind of looks a little easy, but when you get to parts like this here, link symbolic verbose lib ncurses.so to user lib curses.so. It's so close, and it's so many S's and zz's. It's very close. I made a lot of mistakes here, and one way I've averted them was I'd go ahead and I'd type out this first line, link symbolic verbose lib ncurses.so, and I would say user lib curses.so, and I would just up arrow and modify what the up arrow was. So you'd up arrow, and then you would just modify what it was. You know what I mean? Just modify what it was. You can even do that on both sides. I mean, you can modify that and modify, up arrow again. Just modify even to both sides. So I would this would be the hard one. I would up arrow it, and the next one would be lib ncurses w.a. So I would up arrow it, modify the side over here, and just take my time. And don't be afraid if you have it, especially in later chapters here, later parts, after Vim is already installed. Don't be afraid to use it. Do not be afraid to use it. Even if you, when you get to something here like host name, syslog script, bash rc, step. When you get to something like some devices, that's not it. Boot scripts. When you get to the boot scripts, and you have to go ahead and you have to create a Etsy init tab, right? According to documentation here, it says cat into Etsy init tab EOF or end of file. And then you really have to type all this stuff out and blah blah blah. Okay? You might have to type that out. But when you come to something like this here, and you notice the repeating pattern, what I usually do is I just copy out the first one. Okay? Then I'll paste it out. And I'll just jump back and I'll modify each one. And even sometimes with that, I go in like a square pattern. It might sound a little silly, but that's what I do. All these would be 10.0s, right? And I would go in a little square pattern. You got 10.0 here, okay? And the next one you would go ahead and you just backspace and replace that with a 1, replace that with a 2. This O would be a 3, this O would be a 4, this O would be a 5, this O would be a 6. Come back through and, backspace a 6, replace that with a 6. Or say, replace this with a 6, replace this O with a 6, this O with a 5, O with a 4, etc. And you go up. Here I would take a pause and, make a S and replace it with a 1, replace that O with a 2 or something, and that's how I would do that. Same thing with this here. I would have number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, I would type out this first line here, but actually the first line would look more like a second line here, just with the ones in it. So it'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 respawn, S Bennett, A Getty, TTY 2, you know. And I would paste that out, say 6 times, okay? And I would take 1 second to implement the no clear on this, and then I would just jump in and change that 1 to a 2. This one would be a 3. This one here would be a 4, 5, and 6. And then I would jump from here, jump right over, and go back up. Okay? And that really comes in handy. You have Vi. Might as well use it. Might as well use it. At least use the copy paste function to it, so that you can use that and make your life a little easier for you. Startup files. There's another one here. Etsy input RC. This is mayhem to type out. Okay? Mayhem. You can't really get off too much here. You have to say set and set bell style, but when you get to here, you know, encapsulate escape out EOD, you know, I would type this out, and I would copy this line, I would paste it, and I would just take out backward, or actually back, and not take it out here, but this here would resemble backwards. So then I would just take out back, put in forward, and change the D to a C. And same thing here. I would take this whole line here, after I typed it out, copy it, and take out beginning, add end, and put in a 4 instead of a 1 that would normally be there. You know? So little things like that. Same thing with the F stab. If I get a nice run, I would try to pick up a ditto in here somewhere. No Sue ID, so these 2 lines would be copied. Actually, this line would be copied, and this would be pasted, and I would just have to go back in and change sysfs. So, just little tips and tricks and ways that I like to kind of stay focused to try to build the LFS system. Schedule your times around SBUs. Okay. That's what I do quite often. So if you see something here, 17 SBUs, you're like, alright, so I know I got 5 minutes per SBU, 50 minutes. What is that? That's 83 minutes, I think. Yeah, about 85 minutes. So I'm like, alright, so I got 85 minutes. I'll go eat lunch now, or something like that. While you may be over here saying Linux API headers, and you may be tired and exhausted, and like, oh my god, when can I just take a break? You know, and you'll pop out, you look at where you are, and you say, okay, well, glibc is coming up. I got an 85-minute break right there, so I'll just push through man pages, which isn't shit really. Push through man pages, and I'll take that break then. You know, I'll go do something else then. Or GCC is another one. I think, yeah. GCC is another one. Where actually 55 SBUs, 55 and 5 is at 250, and 25 is like 270 some minutes, I guess. You know, so it's about 4, 5, 6, about 7 hours. No, that can't be right. Something's going on with my number theory here. But see, if it was 4 hours, you know, and you say, okay, I can make this here, and then I can head off to work, or I don't know, something. I don't go eat lunch, go take a nap, go to bed. Really go to bed, you know. You just try to push through long enough. You're stuck here with a 4 SBU, and you're like, oh my god, I've been here forever. My eyeballs are dried out. you notice that you have a 55 SPU coming up, and you're like, you know what, I'm just going to call it after I run a little bit of commands here, make and string together ulimit, make K check, and I'm going straight to bed, just like that. So Foresight's good. It's just all about getting comfortable with installing. And the more comfortable you are, the more likely it is that you actually succeed and you can use your system, anything else like that. So I'm actually done. And where is my terminal? How many minutes is this? That should be like 9 hours. But just little tips and tricks to help you get through. And that's all I got. I'll catch you in the next one.